Hey everyone. Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Okay, thank you, Priscilla. Awesome. Well, happy Monday, everyone. We're going to give everyone a couple of minutes to jump on. You know it's around dinner time, so thank you all for making time to join. Trying to hide my messy background. I do apologize. I've got a million dog beds in the back. Those are my coworkers. You'll see them wander in and out. And did I see Mr. David Fox is on, our volunteer director? He's such a good guy. Thanks for joining, David.
Yep, I'm here.
Was not required, but it's always good to see you. How do I just accept everyone? There you go. I'm also trying to figure out how to blur my background so you don't have to look at all these dog beds, but you know, there's only so many things we can do today. Oh, there it is. Even better. There we go. Well, we've got 24 people on. We've only got an hour, so I think let's get rolling. Happy Monday, everyone. My name is Kelsey. I'm the RD for Westline Winder, and together with my husband, Caleb, we own and put on the races for Freestone Endurance. We are not alone, though. You may have heard me just mentioning David Fox, our volunteer director, is also on the call. David, do you want to come on and just show your face and say hello and introduce yourself since you're here?
I'm just doing chores around the house on my phone, so excuse me. But yeah, nice to be here. It's a great race, great people. One of the best experiences of the year, I think, is the finish line of Westline Winder. So welcome. I hope you all have fun.
It is a really good time. If you hadn't noticed from when you signed up, sorry, there's a note that's popped up. This is being recorded, by the way, everyone, just as a heads up, so that folks that couldn't make it will be able to tune in too. Anyways, the race finishes in 2:14 Fest, so it's a really good time. I'm going to share my screen here. And because I live and breathe most of my hours in corporate America, I have made a deck to walk us through. So that's just how I communicate nowadays. But let's see, there we go. Do you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Take no answer as a good answer. Okay, great. We're a little over a month away. A month and a couple of days. What's that?
No, come.
Okay. So exciting stuff. So I'm sure you guys have been well on your journey of training, and stoked to have you here tonight to talk a little bit about the race and preparation. And, you know, I'm a pretty casual person. If you have questions as I'm walking through this information, please feel free to raise your hand or just say, hey, I have a question. I can't see quite everybody on the call. I think if you hit the raise your hand button, it'll highlight you for me. But please feel free to interrupt. Happy to chat as we go along. So as I mentioned, my name's Kelsey. This is my husband, Caleb, in the photo next to me. And this is our awesome crew of core volunteers that have really been helping us since basically 2016 put on races. We first started with the High Lonesome 100 back in 2017. And then back in 2021, we launched Westline Winder and Swatch Ascent. And a big part of that is, well, we just love the trails and the area here, and we want to bring more people out to share that with. But also because we recognize that pretty much no one, I mean, there's maybe a few, can start at a 100-mile race. And we'd love to see more people and more diversity in these, on the trails and in the further distances, like High Lonesome, whether it's with us or other people, doesn't matter. We just love to see people get there. And so we wanted to create a more diverse profile of races as well, that we put on. And so I think that where we've landed with Westline Winder and Swatch Ascent have been a really wonderful sweet spot and gives a lot of opportunity for a lot more people. So if you're not familiar with the area, all of our races take place right outside or in Buena Vista, Colorado, which is about 2.5 hours southwest of the Front Range. It's called the Heart of the Rockies for a reason. As you guys can see, this red triangle is where basically we're located, and it really is the heart of the Rockies. It's also known as the Swatch Range or the Collegiate Peaks. So the Swatch is the broader range. The Collegiate Peaks is a set of 14ers that are right around us. And then the Banana Belt is what we like to call the eastern side of the valley, that range, which is where Westline Winder will run. And it's pretty cool. It's a pretty unique area to be able to get these like high 14,000-foot peaks on one side and this kind of more desert style, really flowy trail on the other. The other really best kept secret about this area is that the trails are dry pretty much year round. So if you decide you come out, you really love it, you should come back again, especially in the shoulder season or the winter. The snow melts pretty quickly. It's pretty close to the Front Range in terms of temperament. Our area is also the headwaters of the Arkansas River. It's actually just north of town is what's considered the headwaters in Leadville, Colorado. And the Arkansas River is a pretty awesome river as well. It flows into the Mississippi, but it starts as snowmelt up in the high Rockies. So just a really unique area, which at the end of the day, like many of our small mountain towns, was founded because of mining and the railroads that brought those miners out. Now our main source of income is outdoor recreation and just sharing the trails in the area with anyone that, you know, wants to come out. Like I said, the Banana Belt is a warmer area of the valley. And so on average, it's about 73 degrees in September. And it feels a bit warmer, honestly, because it's pretty direct sun. Every year that we've run the race has been a clear day, no clouds. And so one of the things we'll talk about today is how to prepare for sun. If you live in Colorado, you know 300 plus days of sun. You've got to be careful at this higher elevation because it just affects you a bit more. But there's no big shade trees either. So that's the other thing to consider. It's a very piniony forest and low shrubbery. I did also just see today that I think it was the Denver Gazette is predicting that peak foliage change out here is going to be September 20th through October 3rd. So we're hitting it right on the head. It's going to be a really, really beautiful time out here in just a couple of weeks. Just to tease you a little bit more, a little bit of a drip, these are the views that you're going to get. So you can see the Arkansas River in the top left. And one of the other cool things about this area, and I've got a slide on that too, is that a lot of the trails that you're going to be running on, I know Wayne, right, are part of converted railroad tracks. And so that means that it's a really nice grade. It's very runnable, and especially the downhill portion, you're going to feel like a hero. Whenever I'm having a bad day, I like to go out on these trails, and it just makes me feel really strong or extra strong and kind of like a superwoman. So this guy with the red shorts, he's running through a portion of the trail that was the railroad grade, and you can kind of see the rocks were blown out on each side for that railroad to pass. So pretty cool. I won't read this off completely, but a little bit of history, and this is on our website if you want to go on there and check it out. The reason we dubbed this race the Westline Winder is because this takes place on what was the Midland Railway, which often was called like the West Line of, well, it changed hands quite a number of times, but it was one of the main Western lines that came out here. It operated from 1883 to 1947. And then after that, it kind of just fizzled out. It was a really hard rail to maintain. It went over, I think, 3 different summits. And yeah, it just didn't have a very level track, but really cool history. And on some of the road that you're running on, you might even see, it might be covered up now, but they just regraded one portion of the Forest Service Road this past spring, and you could see the old railroad ties coming to the surface, like the big wooden blocks. And so that railroad is just underneath for the most part. Some of it may have gotten removed and used as parts for the war, probably just most of the metal, but the wood still remains. Another couple of cool things about this event, even though we are a for-profit company, we really believe in benefiting the community around us with what we do, and that means both here in Buena Vista and the larger trail community. So we support the Trail Mix Fund, whose initiative is to bring more diversity to the trails by providing support financially, namely for free race entries. And so if you're one of those folks that are running through the Trail Mix Fund, we are stoked to have you. If you haven't heard about them, you should check them out. They have a really great website. It's a great place to contribute to, and you probably saw too, we raise funds through registration for them. We also support BVSC, the Buena Vista Single Track Club. They're who maintains the trails here that we'll be running on. And then also the Buena Vista Optimist is another local organization we donate to. They fill a lot of gaps in this county. When COVID hit and school shut down and there were no way to get lunches to kids, they filled that gap and delivered meals every day and made sure that everyone was fed. So lots of really great organizations, both here locally and abroad throughout the country. Lastly, but not least, I'll mention 14er Fest, another really awesome organization. This is where our race will be starting and finishing in the heart of downtown, and you'll see it especially at the finish line. In the morning, it's going to be mainly just us. We might see some Jeep folks riding around, meeting up for their event, but you'll really get the feel for it when you come into the finish line and you see just a buzz of hundreds of people. You'll hear live music. And this festival is pretty cool. It's one whose goal is to bring together all different mountain users. So to showcase how we can really work together and enjoy the trails all together. If you have one of the 14er Fest pass, I definitely recommend checking out some of the other events that are going to be going on that weekend. They have things like the local Jeep group will drive either bikes or people who are fishing up to like lakes or passes that you normally couldn't get to or it'd be really hard to, and they drop you off and down you go. And so it's just like a really cool cross collaboration between groups. And this is put on locally by a couple here in town, and they're really nice as well. Really quick, just an overview of what the race weekend will look like before we go into the full details. Friday, we've got, let me just admit this person. We've got packet pickup starting at 4 o'clock at the BV Community Center. I think I got the address on the website. I didn't want to fill up the slide too much, but there's only one community center, so hopefully that shouldn't be too tricky. So from 4 to 7, you can come and get your bib and anything else. Got a shirt or a 14er Fest pass that can all be picked up there. Or if you aren't going to make it into town to catch that time window, you can also check in Saturday morning before the race. So don't worry about that. We've got 2 options. One of the benefits, though, for coming into town on Friday is that Team We Run Long is going to be hosting a shakeout run and ice cream social. The timing is still being hashed out, but it's probably going to be somewhere between like 2 and 5 p.m., 2 and 4 p.m. I'll send out a note once that gets set. The meeting place is going to be the BV Community Center. You'll go for a run from there and then just walk over to our local ice cream shop to hang out. And if you haven't heard about who We Run Long is, they're an amazing group of people who are based all over the nation. And they also are in the name of the game, diversifying the trails. So they do a lot of initiatives, are really doing a wonderful job of growing a network and supporting people to getting both onto the trails and to races. And so if you haven't heard about them, they've got a great Instagram page, and you can follow them at We Run Long. Saturday race day. So again, you can come and check in prior to the race between 6 and 6:45 a.m. And then the 50K starts at 7 and the 30K starts at 8. You can also bring your drop bags in the morning of. Just make sure you bring them 30 minutes before the race starts. Yes, Hannah, you can, sorry, I see questions coming up. Yep, you can come and pick up both of your race bibs and packets that same time. The Swatch Ascent will overlap, so you're good to go there. And then depending on which distance you're racing, you've got until essentially 6 p.m. to finish. Each race has a little bit of a different cutoff time. So the 50K gets an hour longer to finish, but everyone needs to finish by 6 o'clock. So, and I'm just going to check that I'm not missing any. Okay, no, we're good. That was the one question. Like I said, if you guys have any comments, just stop me as we're going. So who are you going to be running with? Westline Winder runners are from all over the U.S. You can see here we've got quite a hot spot in the mountain west region of Colorado and even a bit into Salt Lake. And this map doesn't totally do it justice because it's auto-generated, but you can see those green kind of highlights. Those are where all of the other runners are, or different locations that runners are coming from. And it's everywhere from upwards of, the very northwest corner north of Seattle to the very southeast down in Tampa. So we've got runners coming from all over, which is awesome. We love to see it. I think this is a race that everyone can do. Feel very strongly about that. And this year we're actually up to about 50% first-time ultra runners, which is an incredible, incredible number. In the past years, it's been about 30%. So I'm super stoked to see this continuing to grow. We also are predominantly female, which is pretty cool. I think that everyone, no matter your gender, is lovely, and we're stoked to have you. But we do know there's a kind of history of this being a bit more of a male-dominated sport. So it's always exciting to see that different groups who have not been represented as strongly continue to grow. We also have yeah, that's exactly, Ben. We also have a really big non-binary field. I think we've doubled. I should have pulled the numbers. Last year, I think we were around 2 or 3% of the race field, which at this point we're up at like 275-ish. And this year we're at 5%, which is awesome too. We also have a really wide age range, anyone from, as young as 18 to over 65, which is incredible. And nearly 25% of our athletes are Black, Indigenous, people of color athletes. So we are just really stoked for this year. I think this is our most diverse, and I think that means it's going to be our most fun year yet. So thank you all for being down to join us. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the race. So we'll start with the 30K. So like I said, this 30K starts at 8 a.m. You've got 10 hours to complete it, which brings you to 6 p.m. And it's 18.1 miles with a gain and loss of 2,400 feet. So I'll show you a bit of an elevation map in a second here, but really what that equates to is just a lot of rolling hills. We don't have any really super steep climbs. There are some more gradual climbs that are over the course of a couple of miles. And, some of those portions, you may feel more comfortable hiking that, power hiking instead of running, and that's totally great. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for speedy running, but you don't have to do it the whole time if that's not what your race is like. The trail is 88% single track, which is pretty awesome. And like I was mentioning before, the other portions that aren't single track are majority this really lovely railroad grade. So there are about 1.62 miles of Forest Service or gravel road, and then about half mile of paved road. I'm going to just really quick see if I can show you a little bit more of a detailed map here, because that screenshot isn't the best. Let's try this. Here we go. This is a little bit better of a visual. The only downside is you can't see my mouse, so it's not going to be, oh wait, there you can see it. It's just It's just a lag. Okay, so just to give you a quick overview, and this is great, right? Because actually a good portion of the 30K overlaps with the 50K. So if you're running the 50K, this first part will apply to you, right? So we're going to start here in this kind of upper left corner of the downtown area, and you're going to come out and do a quick little loop. This is kind of, this initial straight portion is the paved road portion. So it's about a 1/4 mile of paved road, and then you get into a gravel path. It's actually kind of around our, what's the name for it? Disc golf course. And it's lovely. And then you'll cross the river and off into the upper trails you go. And so the first trail you'll take out is this lower one here, this orange arrow. And you can see it just kind of winds and curves a little bit along the river and then goes further back into this 4-mile area. I'm not going to rattle off all of the trail names, but you will be able to find them. We've got a description on our website. And of course, this course is going to be well marked. So we do put pink course markings. They look like this. They're going to say freestone endurance about every 1/4 mile, if not a little bit more. When you hit turns and when you get to junctions, there will be way more markings, and we might even have course marshals there. So the one thing I will say about this area that does get a little bit tricky are that there's a lot of trails, and there's a lot of trails that cross over each other. So I do really strongly recommend downloading the free Avenza app and the map that we have loaded. If you've never used Avenza before, I promise you it's really approachable. Like I mentioned, it's free. And a great part about it is you can be in airplane mode and it'll still show you where you are on the map. So you don't have to have your phone on to be able to see it. And the reason I really do strongly recommend this is because it's so easy to just, as you've got your head down, you're racing, you're thinking about other things, it's really easy to miss a turn, or because there's some social trails that kind of just come in and off of the trail, maybe take one of those instead. So if you think that you may have gotten off, you haven't seen a marker in, 5 minutes or more, you can pull that up and say, am I on the red line? Like it'll actually just be a map that looks like this, and you'll be able to see, where is my blue dot? Am I on the line, or do I need to go back? If you need to go back, it'll give you an arrow as you're pointing, and it'll help you get back on the trail. So it's just a really nice peace of mind to have on you if you've got your phone on you anyways. Last year we had a gal who was in first place for the 30K. And again, she just had her head down, and instead of going straight across the road onto it's actually, let's see if I can scroll up. It was right here in this last part of the course. And instead of coming down and then back onto the trail, she kept running straight on the road. And she got about a mile off course by the time she realized it. And she called down to her parents, who were standing next to me and David, and we talked her back onto the course. But by that time, a number of minutes had passed, and she just wasn't able to make up that short distance to get back into first place. So whether you're racing for first or you're really any of the goals, it's just a really nice tool to have, and I strongly recommend it. Okay, so getting back to the 30K here. So you're going to be winding down on this lower part of between these two, the south, I guess, facing part of the trail here. You'll have an aid station, which is just a water stop right here. This is called Whistle Stop. It's about 3.9 miles into the race. There won't be any people there. It'll be a table, but it'll have plenty of water for you. Like I said, it's a very warm area, especially in September. So drinking more than you think you might need is not usually a bad idea. The first aid station, though, that you're going to hit, if I can get this to move without making everyone sick, is going to be Valley View, which is down here kind of towards the bottom. There we go. And it's this X right here. That's going to be about 7.8 miles in. You're going to have a fully stocked aid station, a really awesome crew of local runners actually that live down in Salida, and probably actually some still in BB too. And they'll be there to make sure you're fueled and ready to go. After Valley View, you'll continue on. And where you see these blue people over here where it says course marshals, this is where the 30K and the 50K diverge. So the 50K is going to go to the right or east. Testing my rights and lefts, by the way. I'm really terrible at that. They're going to go to the right, and you on the 30Kers, you're going to go to the left, and you're going to keep continuing on. What you'll find next is Midland. the Midland aid station, and that aid station is about 12.9 miles in. Again, another fully staffed aid station with folks that know the trails and are local here. So you're going to have a great time, and they're going to be really excited to see you. This is the part of the trail, like I mentioned before, that has is part of that Midland grade. So it is a road, but it's going to feel really nice as you continue running down. And then about, maybe a mile after that aid station or so, you are going to hop back onto the trail to really finish things out. And I think, do we have another water drop in here? I'm going to have to reference my other. Let's pull this up. Page here. No, Whistle Stop is going to be your only water drop. The 50Ks will have another one there. So let me stop and, here we go. Switch this. Cool. All right. So to give you a little more perspective too on the elevation change, you can kind of see you've got, overall the course is one big loop with 2 rolling gradual climbs. This is all on our website as well, so feel free to kind of study it a little bit more there. I do totally have, no, I don't have an error on this side. We are good. I thought I switched the Midland and the Valley View, but you can also find this there. For the 30K, there's no crew access or no spectator access except for at the finish and start line. But you can have a drop bag at the Midland Aid. And I'll talk a little bit more about what goes into drop bags if you're not familiar with those. The 2 big things to note as you're going through the course is that there are cutoffs, or there is a cutoff on the course. Well, 2 technically. You've got one at Midland, so that's that last aid station, and that's going to be at 4:30 p.m. So that means that you have to be out of the aid by 4:30 p.m. And the folks, if you're getting close to that time period, the folks at the aid are definitely going to help you make sure that you get through and get what you need in time if you're feeling like you can still push to the finish. The finish line cutoff, like I mentioned, is 6 p.m. So that's like kind of the quick and dirty on the 30K. Any questions? Just checking the chat here.
Sorry. What was the name of the app that you were talking about?
Say that one more time, Wayne.
What was the name of the app that you were talking about?
It's called Avenza. And let's see, how do I go to my next whoop on here? I've got, oh wow, that's gonna make me sick. All right, let me just pull this really quick. Here we go. Yeah, it's Avenza.
Cool.
And
got it.
You got it? Okay, great. And then when you go to our website, you should be able to see you can either find a link for it on our website, or if you search in the Avenza app, Westline Winder, it basically takes you to a store and you'll be able to see like our map, and it's free. You don't have to pay for it. Some maps you do have to pay for, but this one should be listed as free. And so those are the 2 ways that you can find it there.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about the 50K really quick. So 7 a.m. start, like I mentioned, 11-hour cutoff, and this one is 30.6 miles. It's not a heavy 50K. We're pretty much right on the nose there. And the elevation over those 30 miles is 4,300 feet. That's both gain and loss. And very similar style, right? Because these trails are very kind of the same throughout. You're going to have that like similar rolling and gradual climbs. There's no like real steep climb. The high point on this part of the course is 9,500 feet, which is pretty cool. You're going to be starting in town at 8,000 feet, and you drop down to that like 7,900 feet once you come back into town. That is the low point. The 50K also is majority single tracks, 22 miles out of those 30. A little bit more of Forest Service gravel roads mixed in, but they're really pretty. There's going to be some really cool views, some really big rock features, and that's part of the climb that you'll top out at and be able to look back and see the collegiate peaks behind you. Really quick, I'm going to bring up a better version of the 50K map to show you. Although maybe it didn't load. Let's see here. One second, I had it pulled up and now it does not want to go. So I apologize. All right, we will just use this slide for time's sake. So I make it a little bigger at least. Come on, buddy. Okay, so here you can see on the 50K, right, that first leg is where the 30K and the 50K overlap. That blue spot where it says course marshals, that's where you'll diverge, and the 50K will keep going on to the east or right on your screen here. And this is where you're going to then do a clockwise loop before coming back down. So it's like one big figure 8. And so there will be another, and you can kind of see it here just after the course marshal, there's like a water icon. That's where the second water drop aid station is after Valley View. Again, this is unstaffed, but there'll be lots of water there for you. We just want to make sure that there's always something 5 miles or less so that nobody gets dehydrated on us. After that, you'll climb up. This is kind of to the top of the speculator, to the speculator aid station at mile 15.4. Now, this is where crews can come. So if you've got folks that are going to be out here with you, this is the one spot on the course that they are allowed to be. We do ask that everyone kind of adhere to that. And the reason being that, you know, having folks out on the course and other places could really affect our permits or affect other users just because they're smaller trailheads and tighter locations. But there's a ton of room at speculator. Once your crew gets up there, there'll be people helping to get them set up parking, and they can just walk over to the aid. It's probably about 1/10 of a mile from the parking. If anyone has family with maybe some mobility restrictions, we can have you drive right up to the aid. There's some parking there, but just let that captain know. His name is going to be, this is what happens when I'm on group calls. It's a good friend of mine, but I get like performance anxiety and I just forget names. So anyways, Rob Howard is going to be the captain there. And so if you guys have any questions or have any trouble parking with folks, just ask for Rob and he'll be able to help you. After you hit speculator, you're going to climb a little bit more, and then you can see this FR 305. This is another kind of dirt road. That's going to be a really awesome downhill, and you'll take that to get back onto that Midland grade railroad all the way over to Shields. Shields is your second to last aid station at mile 20.4. It's a fully staffed, fully kitted out aid station, so lots of tasty goodies. And then onward, downward you'll go till you get to Midland and then down into the finish. From Midland on, you're also going to be on the same course that the 30K race is on. So it's really this like big upper loop. That's where you have something different. It's your add-on mileage. And then down into the finish, into the heart of 14er Fest, where we'll be waiting for you. Some stats on the 50K course. Like you can see here, you've got like, it looks a lot steeper than it actually is. So make sure you're looking down at the bottom. You can see between like Valley View and Speculator, right, which is about 7-ish miles. That's where the majority of your climb is happening. So again, think about all those feet spread out over 7 miles. It's not going to be as steep looking as here on the graph. You can see too, here are your aid stations. There will be bathrooms at Valley View and Speculator. Valley View is going to be a pit toilet because this is kind of a like state area. So it's a nice overview and it's got like a fully enclosed bathroom. And then Speculator will be porta potties, and same with the start and finish, porta potties there as well. The 50K, you guys do have one more cutoff point in addition to the same as the 30K 430 at Midland, and that's going to be at Speculator, mile 15.4, and that's 1 p.m. So you just want to make sure you get through that aid station by 1 p.m. There is also one more drop bag spot for the 50K runners, so that also is Speculator. Because again, this is like kind of our halfway point, our bigger aid at the top of this climb, and so if you want to stash some goodies for yourself there, Speculator is where you'll be able to pick it up as well as see your crew. I think that's pretty much, again, the quick and dirty on the 50K. Any questions? Okay, great. We'll keep rolling. Let's talk about a little bit details of preparing. So like I mentioned, the course is going to be marked every 0.2 to 0.3 miles with these pretty pink ribbons. They've also got this little reflector tape on it. They'll be clipped to shrubs and trees all along the course. There'll be extra markings placed at junctions and turns, and some of them are going to even have course marshals just to make sure things go well. Come race day, family and friends can track you via open split time. And so you'll see a link for that appear on the homepage website. I'll also send out probably an email for either race week or the day of the race. And Madeline, yes, the directions for the crew are actually on the website. So if you go to, I believe it's like race day details and scroll to the bottom, there's going to be coordinates for how to get to Speculator, as well as some descriptions for getting there. I've got a slide coming up, but I'll jump maybe to that really quick since I know crew is important. The one thing to remember about Speculator, let's see if I can, ooh, it's farther over than I thought it was. The one thing to remember about Speculator is that this is I just copied from the website, right? So here is kind of the information. There are some like rock features right at the beginning of the road. As long as you have kind of an SUV type vehicle, you should be able to get past them. I think something like a Prius or a lower clearance sedan is going to have a hard time. And if that's the case, you can take a longer way around, or you might want to think about carpooling with somebody who does have higher clearance. Up to you. I think there's a couple of different options that you can have. But if you are worried about getting your car over that, just reach out to me via email and we can chat about it. So live runner tracking will be available via open split time. Just check the homepage of the website. That's really going to be the best place to find it. And it will just turn live on race day. So you won't see anything before race day, but come race day, if you've signed up for notifications and stuff, that's where you'll start to see, you can see like the link to get that. What will you find at aid stations? You're going to see a lot of people who care about you, even though they don't know you, and who really want to see you succeed. So each aid station has a captain, a crew of volunteers, as well as medical support. And all of the folks that are going to be there are runners themselves. They've either maybe run this race, run other trail races, run ultras. They've done the gamut. And so they know what happens when you're out there pushing your hardest. And so if you're having a rough day, talk to them. They're there to troubleshoot with you, to offer you ideas, and really they just want to see you get to the finish line. It's like every year people come running down to the finish line. They probably won't know your name. They might know your bib number. They'll know what you were wearing, and they'll be like, that runner, I talked to them for a while at Speculator. Did they make it yet? I'm going to wait for them to come in. So there's a lot of people that are going to be rooting for you, even though you might not know them until race day. Like I mentioned, those 2 water stops are going to have water, and actually, sorry, this is probably a typo. It's really just going to have water only. I don't think we're going to be able to put electrolytes there just because the mixing, but it will have water and it'll be unstaffed. The rest of the aids are going to have all of your usual trail running goodies. So chips, cookies, crackers, avocado, fruit, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we are sponsored by Morton, so we'll have Morton gels and bars. We, unfortunately, because these are kind of like backcountry kitchens, aren't able to segregate allergens. So if you have any like food allergies or things that we should be cautious of, let's talk, reach out to me. We are happy to put more drop bags at aid stations for you. If, for example, like you have a really strong peanut allergy, because again, we won't be able to segregate perfectly, I'd love to just get food for you to those aid stations so you don't have to worry about any allergic reactions come race day. Some of the aids you'll also find have warm foods like quesadillas, bacon, pierogies, something that's like salty, tasty, and going to hopefully, you know, just be something that sits well in your stomach. All of the aid stations will have lots of hydration. So besides water, we'll have Morton. If you've never had that before, it's this like caloric beverage. So it's your liquid fuel as well as some hydration. And then, of course, the usual suspects of Coke and ginger ale. We'll also have all of the runner care items, at least the basic ones. So if you need something other than kind of what we've had listed in terms of sunscreen, bug spray, menstruation products, Tums, some blister care stuff, if you need anything else, make sure to either carry those on you or put them in your drop bags. But hopefully it's enough to get you through. A couple of key things to remember. So the only required gear that we have is that you have water storage, and we do recommend 1,000 milliliters, which is like 2 of those. Normally the soft flasks are about 500 milliliters. Sometimes they're smaller ones, but I really recommend carrying at least 100 milliliters or 1 liter on you, and then a cup. We are a cupless race, so that means when you come into the aid stations and if you want a glass of Coke, you've got to pull your cup out and they'll fill that up for you. Now, of course, we're always going to have some backup cups on us there just in case like something happens, but it's a lot easier if you have a cup to just pull out and use. It's super easy. You can use a common kind are like the really like crushable light. They're probably like 4 ounces or 6 ounces cups, or you can use like the GSI ones that are kind of accordion style. Or honestly, if it's like one of those days you find it just like you forget things, you can just shove a plastic cup, like one of those kind of more disposable ones, into your pouch. Whatever works for you works for us. Remember, drop bags need to be provided to us 30 minutes before the start of your race, whether it's the 30K or the 50K, or it can be done the day before at packet pickup. We do not allow poles unless they're requested ahead of time. If you kind of have some mobility issues and the poles really help, we're happy to let you have them with you on race day. But because these trails are so tight and you'll find yourself like around people often, we just don't want to have any accidents with poles. We also really recommend not wearing headphones, or if you're going to wear them, put them at a really low volume so that you can hear everyone around you. You often will be getting instructions as you come into or out of aid stations, or maybe as course marshals or from other runners, right? Someone might need to pass or wants to talk to you about something, and you want to be able to hear them. So that's just one really important thing to keep in mind as you're out there. And I should have had this on there, but another thing, because we are going to be doing like manual runner tracking, as you come in and out of aid stations, just call out your bib number. So, hey, number 26, Kelsey coming in, number 26, Kelsey leaving. That's all you need to say, and it just really helps the volunteers make sure they track you. And if they track you well, that means your friends and family can track you, right? So it's entered right away into open split time. And so it's a live update. Your friends and family will be able to know, oh, they just left Valley View. Awesome. Your aid stations, like I mentioned, are every 5 miles or less. We also have compost and recycling at each aid station. Those receptacles will be labeled. So if you wouldn't mind trying to aim for the right bucket, we would love that. We have a local composting group here in town called Elements that all of our race waste goes to. And so that's something we really strive for, is to keep as much of the waste out of landfills as possible. And like I mentioned, the Avenza app, something super important and helpful to have for race day. Okay, I'm going to hustle through the next couple of things just to leave a little bit more time at the end for questions or chatter. But race day gear, right? All your usual suspects. Whatever you usually wear on training runs, it's a great thing to use in race day. Kind of usually say, don't wear new stuff. Don't bring new gear to race day. Even if it's just a shirt or a new tank top, you just don't know how it's going to rub or make your skin feel. And so I always like to run in things that I've at least tried out a couple of times before the race. So shoes, shirt, shorts, a fuel belt or hydration vest. I do recommend one of those 2 things so that you can carry as much water as you need to for race day, as well as your fuel. I've had people ask me in the past, could I just use a JanSport backpack? You certainly can. I think that's going to be very uncomfortable though. And so if you need help securing a fuel belt or a race vest, let me know, and I'm sure we can help get you hooked up if you can't find one. Electrolytes, fuel, and then sun protection. So hat, sunglasses, sunshade shirt. That's actually what I wear pretty much all year round. In the mountains out here. It's like a great way. I don't like the feel of sunscreen on my skin. And so one of these light kind of long sleeve shirts are really great, especially in weather out here. Watch, GPS tracker, and maybe a wind or rain jacket, one of those packable ones. Again, we haven't had rain on race day yet, but we do get monsoons, which are like afternoon storms that are still happening in September. So you could have a little bit of a sprinkle. This like photo on the right hand side of the page here is actually from our website. And so we do have like a downloadable guide, both with information about what to do as you work your way up to race day, and also like kind of a race day planner. And so that's totally free. It was made by a coaching friend of ours. And so if you want to take a look and use that, please feel free. It's there for you. I'm a visual person, so just a quick visual in case you wanted to have that instead of a list. And then let's talk about drop bags. So if you've never been in a trail race or an ultra race before, drop bags are an awesome way to stash gear, food, and drink for later on in the race that you don't want to carry on yourself the whole time. So a lot of times I like to pack maybe like an extra layer or something, my rain jacket if I think the weather is going to look good for the first part of the race. Maybe some personal care items like some wipes, some extra sunscreen or body glide, whatever it is that I'm usually using, or also some like snacks that are gonna like get me excited when I get there. So something that maybe I'm not gonna start with, but I'm gonna stash for later as my like little carrot for when I get to that location. Make sure that when you drop your drop bags off, and we'll make sure we have some tape there too, but label them. I like to just take duct tape, put it on the bag, and write my name, my last name, and my bib number. These don't have to be anything fancy, these bags. Personally, I just like using the 3-gallon Ziploc bags. They're waterproof, they're cheap, they're plenty big, and you can like decorate them with some tape or some images, whatever, so they stand out more. But that's like the most that you need. It doesn't need to be anything, any kind of special box or any sort of dry bag. Don't worry about that. They don't have to be disposable. You will get them back. I just like using Ziploc bags because they're cheap and easy, and you can find them everywhere. So Lee, I'm sorry I missed your question, but yes, you absolutely can fill whatever water storage you have at the aid stations. We're going to have a ton of water there. We definitely want you to refill. Start with some on you, but that's what all those aid stations are for. It's if you want to refill with water or fuel, right? You can take some of that food with you to go, whatever you need. You don't have to just eat it there. And Ben, thanks for dropping a link to those cups. If you guys didn't see that, Ben kind of gave an example of where you could get some of those cups. You can find them on trail like gear websites or even just on Amazon. They don't need to be anything special. Your drop bags, because you will get them back, they will come back to the start and finish line on Saturday. Now you have to remember they don't come back until the aid station closes. So if you get done at a certain time, some of the ones, especially like from Midland, are going to come back like later in the day, probably between 5:30, 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So just keep in mind that if you do want to get your drop bags back, they'll be available kind of later in the evening, or you can get them on Sunday. We're going to bring them to the Sawatch Ascent start line, which is just a few minutes outside of town. And the coordinates are here in that slide there. Like I said, some tips and tricks. You can put an extra pair of bottle, extra socks, maybe some like blister gear kind of fixing stuff. But at the end of the day, you want to put things in there that don't melt easily and don't need refrigeration, right? Because these are going to be sitting in the sun out all day. And obviously eating food that needs to be refrigerated that hasn't is going to make you sick, and we don't want that. We already touched on cruise. But again, this is on our website under race day info, just at the bottom of the page there. So you can kind of go back and reference that. If you don't live here in Colorado, and so you're not used to running at altitude or 8,000 feet, fear not, you're going to be just fine. Just a couple of things though to think about. Drink more water than you think you need. A lot of times being at altitude, and especially out in this kind of sun, or even not, even when it's a shady day, and you're working hard at a race, you're going to use more water than you think. So maybe drink more water than you think. Drink more electrolytes, especially if you start to feel nauseous or dizzy. Those are signs that like something is imbalanced, right? And eat more calories than you think. I mean, that's really like the name of the game with any of these races, really. Half the time, or besides being like physically trained, having your legs trained, it's getting your stomach trained to keep being able to eat throughout the race. I really try to aim for eating every 30 to 45 minutes. But everyone's different, right? However you train is how you should race. Make sure, right, again, I'm going to harp on the sun protection because it's just way stronger here when we're closer to the sun. I'm a Wisconsin girl, and so the first time I moved out here and went for a hike, I got fried. I just had no idea. So that's another thing to consider, and just listen to your body. If you are getting signs that something is off, take a moment as you get to the aid stations, or just take a moment to walk and think about, what might you want to do differently to feel better, right? It's going to be a long day out there, and you want to have a good day. And remember, even if you don't live at altitude and you haven't trained at altitude, there's plenty of ways to make sure that you stress your body so that it's ready for race day. So running in the heat and humidity is a really, really good substitution. So anyone living in the Midwest, really anywhere outside of the Mountain West where there is actually humidity, it's a great training thing. And really quickly, I'm just going to hit over the race rules, which frankly are pretty common. I don't think we have anything out of the ordinary that you wouldn't find at any other race, but it is 2 slides worth. I'm not going to read this word for word, but I'll give you the cliff notes, right? So respect everyone on the trail as well as the trail itself. We have a really zero tolerance policy for bullying or disrespectful behavior. And at the end of the day, as the RD and my husband as the owner as well, we've got the say for if something is, crossing a line for poor form. So again, try to keep yourself aware of your surroundings. If you use headphones, keep them at low enough volume. We do not allow speakers, so don't play anything outwardly. That's really against like the leave no trace and ethos of sharing the trail. Because obviously like playing music outwardly is actually going to impact somebody else's race, right? They're going to be around you to hear it. So, and then of course, when you're passing somebody, just let them know on your left. Uphill runners or hikers have the right of way to downhill runners. And so the other thing to remember is that this is not a closed course, right? These are public trails. So you're probably going to come across other people out there who are enjoying the day as well, just in a different form. So they might be hiking, they might be running, they could be biking. You could see horses out there. Those aren't as common on these trails, but always yield to the uphill person, and horses win overall. So if you see folks on horseback, just step off the trail a little bit and let them pass. No shortcuts, honor the spirit of competition. And that means both like on the trail and for what you're consuming, right? We do not allow the use of performing enhancing drugs. Be a land steward and obey all of the U.S. Forest Service and leave no trace rules. And really, this just means don't litter, leave it better than you found it. Don't go off trail, run through the mud. And if you do have to use the bathroom, especially number 2, outside of the places that we do have actual bathrooms, please do bury it at least 6 inches down. But if you can hold it until you get to the aid station, that would be awesome. Gear and support, right? Poles, pacers, not allowed unless we have a chat beforehand. But other than that, the aid stations will have everything that you need to get to the finish line. And like I mentioned, check in and out at the aid stations. That'd be super helpful for volunteers, especially at the earlier aids where it's going to be really busy and people are coming through quickly. That's when it just helps to make sure that we don't miss you. Couple of other quick things, right? So mentioned, want to be respectful to everyone out there, and that includes our staff. If you're getting instruction from someone at a who's volunteering at the aid station, they do have authority to give instruction, right? We've been probably in contact with them if something's going on, so please listen to them. Medication and medical treatment. So of course, like having our medical staff help you is wonderful. You should definitely do that. The only thing that comes into play is if you accept fluid via needles, that will be considered a does not finish, and we'll be pulling you from the race at that time. That's really for the benefit of you and for the folks who also are running the race. If you're needing an IV at a certain stage, it's probably just not healthy for you to be out on the course, and we don't want to create any emergencies of having to go out and get you. So, but they're going to be great, taking anything else from them, like maybe an aspirin or something like that. That's no problem. That's what they're there to do, and they'll let you know if something is like grounds for being pulled from the race, they'll tell you, before it gets to that point. And frankly, you'll probably be having a pretty solid conversation about it anyways as you're getting there. Dogs, we love dogs. I have 3 of them, but we do not allow them in like the aid stations or on the race with you. And that's because not everyone loves dogs as much as we do at times, right? Everyone has a little bit different experience with animals, and we want to make sure everyone can have the race that they want. So no dogs. If they are going to be around, they'll just need to be outside of the aid station by about 100 feet and on leash under control the whole time. I don't believe we really go through private property, except for I suppose the town is considered that, but of course, respect private property. We don't want to trespass for any reasons. And anyone, obviously disregarding this rule will be subject to disqualification. And then, number 10, RD gets final say. There's so many things that could happen in a race that we just can't capture in a couple pages of notes. And so we're going to make the best call that we can for everyone to have a good race day, right? We're always going to talk with you and work with you if something comes up to make sure that whatever we decide is fair to everyone around. But, at the end of the day, our goal is to make sure everyone has a good race and everyone has a fair race and the same shot that, the person next to them has. So I'll end really quick with, we will aim for awards on race day at about 1 p.m. It's an about because it just depends when everyone comes in, but usually by around 1:30, most people have come in. And we've got 3 different groups for awards: a non-binary category, a women's category, a men's category. And then we also have a DFL award. So if you are the last person on the course to come into the finish, that is a friggin' incredible day that you've had out there. That is really hard work. I know it. I'm usually at the back of the pack, but the people that are out there the longest, I know you're working probably the hardest. So we've got a little bit of an award to celebrate you as well, and there'll be a big crew waiting for you as you come into the finish. That's my shtick, guys. You got any other questions? Any other things on your minds? Yeah, Brendan, what's your question?
Sorry, I just had to get it. You got me?
I gotcha.
Sorry, it said so. The water minimum, you said 1,000 milliliters. That's like a requirement.
We don't have a requirement for how much you have to carry, just that you do need to have like some sort of water container with you. 1,000 milliliters is what I recommend. It's like 2 soft flask water bottles. Honestly,
Okay.
I usually carry 3 on me because I sweat a lot, and I know especially on warm days, I'll drink a lot. So I like to have a little bit of a reserve on me, but 2 is what I would say is like a good average if that's what you want to do. Or, it's same as a bladder, right? Like you could do 1 big bladder.
Mhm.
I'm just used to using bottles, so that's my like equivalence.
Okay, thanks. I just saw 1,000 minimum, so I didn't know if it was like a requirement. You had to have 1,000 milliliters to start.
No, it's really just like the baseline that I think is a good place to start at.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Eric, I don't think there is going to be a meeting for Swatch Ascent, but I'm happy to answer questions you might have about it. This is actually the first year I've ever done a rudder meeting, for what it's worth. So we were kind of trying it out with Westline just because we have a ton of first-time runners. It felt like it was maybe the right race to kick it off with.
So do drop bags get moved from one spot to the next, or do you need like 2 separate drop bags if you wanted spots at both for the 50K?
That's a great question, Lee. You'll want to use 2 separate drop bags. So for whatever, if you want to do 1 at each location, you'll have 1 for Midland and 1 for Speculator in the 50K. They won't move. Thanks, Ben. I'm glad you liked the intro meeting. Well, I'm so excited to see you all in just a couple of weeks. And I also feel stoked that we kept that to an hour. I know everyone's probably got a good amount of stuff to do in their lives. So really appreciate you all joining and the conversations and the good questions. If other things come to mind as you're getting ready, feel free to shoot me an email. I will say, please check the website first. It's always easier if you can just double check that the information is not on there. But if you can't find it, feel free to send me an email. I'm happy to answer. And I will get this posted in the next couple of days. I haven't posted to YouTube in many years, so you'll have to give me a second to see if my technical skills are still good enough. But I will get this up in case you want to come back and rewatch. And yeah, I hope the rest of training goes really well for you all, and I can't wait to see you in September.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Bye. Have a good night, everyone.